creation of ourselves. And I think when you exert your own, just your own will in a culture, where you're not bound, I mean, literally, you know what I mean?
Mm.
You can sort of do your own thing. Which doesn't mean it doesn't take a tremendous amount of courage, and it's not hard, and people don't have their own misery, and, and all this stuff. It's not easy. Nobody said that it was supposed to be easy, right?
No, exactly. Yeah, sure.
But, I mean, it's just as easy to be a jerk as it is to try to be a decent person and try to tell the truth about stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it hurts either way.
Yeah.
I mean, it hurts either way. Life is painful whether you tell the truth about everything or whether you don't. So I just think that, after being a jerk much of my life, and telling lies, and seeing how the whole business worked. I worked for the Department of Defense, for God's sake.
Oh, really?
I had a security clearance when I was in Europe. I was DOD, but I was DOD with, as a civilian.
Okay.
So I saw all kinds of shit. And you and me, we see it all the time.
Sure.
So it's there, and it's been there for a long, long time. In different manifestations. But there are interesting things that are happening now. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not the same old. I don't think.
No, yeah, exactly. I want to kind of tie this all together, I guess, because in a sense you're talking about, the ability for people to break free and break out of all of this and actually following your own, truth or whatever, your own line, the stuff that you want to do. And I mean, I know that on your show you speak a lot about, for example, we keep returning there, 2012, and the idea of this, something new actually coming in. Is this something that you tie together, these two?
Well, I think that, the whole 2012 business, again, it's a double-edged sword because it's already being used, for, to peddle goods, essentially. But that's okay. I mean, I recognize capitalism is not all that bad. The problem is when you combine capitalism with materialism, those two things together become very problematic. Capitalism with a spiritual outlook behind it can probably help a lot of people.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, it's
combined with materialism, the idea that it's just me, nobody else. There's no spirit involved. It's he who dies with the most fucking toys wins.
Yeah.
And screw everybody else, including the planet.
Sure.
This is the problem with capitalism combined with materialism. I have no problem with capitalists, but be a capitalist with a heart.
Sure.
Be a capitalist with some spirit. Recognize that that you're not the only one, and there are other people that are trying to do their best in the middle of this. And there are, everyone's worried about the fucking apocalypse. The apocalypse has already happened for 95% of this planet.
Elaborate on that for us.
Well, look around. Go to Bombay. I mean, go to Darfur, whatever.
Yeah.
The great majority of the people on this planet, and I'm not over exaggerating when I say 95%. You know what I mean? People are in deep despair. It is Armageddon-ish, right? So anything that comes next, whatever it is, I mean, as this whole thing sort of comes to a close, which is the way I see 2012 as sort of a moniker to sort of hang our hat on. I don't think it's going to happen overnight in 2012.
Sure.
I think that we're in the middle of it right now. I think that we're seeing all this change happening. And but the idea that it's all bad is see, this is the magic trick that's trying to be pulled, right? 9/11 is a magic trick.
Yeah, sure.
Right? But like all magicians, there's a level of skill. And other magicians can call you out. See?
Yeah, sure.
And a guy like Kent Steadman, he's a wizard. That's why if you go to Orbit, you'll see the whole track from day one of 9/11. I was on the phone with him. We were on the telephone. And you know what he said to me?
No.
The first word out of his fucking mouth? He said Reichstag.
Oh, really? Huh.
Reichstag. It was the first word out of his mouth.
Mm.
He knew, right?
Mm.
Of course he knew. He's seen it all before, and he pays attention to history. Right?
Yeah, sure.
So there's no news. The problem is, the media and all this stuff, yeah, people that call themselves journalists when they're not, they're clowns and they're lapdogs or whatever, but,
sure.
Whatever.
Mm.
If people aren't smart enough to see it and recognize it, it's their own trouble.
Yeah.
And I see the thing as coming undone. The web, the World Wide Web, is such a great metaphor, for all this stuff, because when you're full of shit, the web becomes too difficult to manage. Right? The spider that lies all the time can't manage his own web, right?
Yeah.
Well, but if you're a cool spider and you got your act together, no problem. The web is your friend, right? Well, this is what's going on. I mean, these guys are getting wrapped up in their own so deeply in their own deceit that they're becoming depotentiated. And I mean this in a physical sense, Henrik. They have not been able to pull another 9/11, and don't think they wouldn't love to.
So that's interesting. So do you think that, in a sense, all the people actually watching these guys actually are working as an intelligence community in themselves, and that?
Well, yeah, and the fact that there are good people too. There are good people too. There's just as many good people as there are bad people. I mean, right? I mean, plus or minus, you got to figure. So, they're all, whether they're screaming it to the rooftop or not might be another story, right? But obviously someone is doing something.
Sure.
Because again, I always go back to the first primary set of data. The first primary set of data is me, my experience.
Yeah.
Not what somebody tells me, not what I read in a book or what somebody's screaming through a bullhorn. It's what's happening in my life.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Well, in my life, I couldn't live in a more white bread town. I live in the middle of Missouri, one of the notches, in the Bible Belt. Okay? And I talk it up, Henrik. I say my piece, and I invite people to my home. I invite everyone, the chief of police, the mayor, whoever, come on out. If you're a friendly person and you want to have a nice dialogue and a conversation, you are welcome.
That's good, yeah.
But if you come out and you want to be an asshole, well, I don't care what your laws say. I don't care what your piece of paper says. I will lay your fucking ass out. Right?
Yeah, sure.
And like I say, I do my thing. And so this is what I think that people should be doing. As long as you don't harm others, do your thing. And say what you want to say, be creative, do your art, get bent out of shape if you want, right? But do your thing. And don't get caught up in the idea that somebody else controls you. You have to be smart, don't get me wrong. You still got to be smart.
Sure.
It doesn't mean you don't have to be smart. I mean, I'm smart. I put myself in a situation where I can do the things that I do. But that requires intelligence.
Yeah.
And it also requires something else, Henrik. It requires a recognition that the entire world is not human. That there are other things going on here. There are other plants and other creatures, animals that we share this planet with, right?
Yeah.
And they are sick and tired of being ignored. And that's the way it is. In other words, we look at other species as if they're just shit, right? And that we're the only ones that somehow, and we give ourselves all this credit. And look at the mess that we've made. Right?
Yeah, sure.
And we talk about our wonderful intelligence and all this stuff. So the first thing that human beings and individuals